obviously like a destination that we went to visit a couple of years ago with you guys was Cape Verde, and part of the main problem there was more tourists than locals. Tourism had sort of become a little bit overwhelming for them over the space of about 10 years, and the work that you were doing was to trying to bring the balance back. So did you see sort of, I guess this is a little bit like devil's advocate here, but did you see any positive effects in any destinations from a lack of tourism, or was it more the fact that these places were relying on the money coming from tourism and then suffering?
Okay, so yes, both of those things are true, basically. And I think it's an element of degrees and of balance that's needed here, really. So, I mean, I would say most of the people that we are in contact with are obviously people who are within the tourism world and within the tourism industry. And so for those people who are reliant on tourism, for those economies that are reliant on tourism, heavily reliant, it was, I think, pretty devastating from an economic perspective, which obviously also has a social angle to it and a human cost that goes with it. So I think really it would be, we'd need to really kind of acknowledge that massive devastation. We were hearing about, perfectly good businesses, family-run businesses that would just not be able to, not surviving, collapsing, going under. A real kind of exodus from the industry with people, then trying to find jobs elsewhere, and that sort of thing. So I think that shouldn't be underestimated. But of course, there are some positives, I think. We certainly heard many stories of environmental benefits of just, areas that have just been given a break for a season. I expect people have heard of stories of sort of water quality improvements in Venice, seeing sort of dolphins swimming around and that sort of thing. And those sorts of stories, I think, are there, particularly in destinations that were heavily crowded. And similarly, I think that what everyone had to do was to listen much more to their local residents and think about actually what their needs are. So obviously domestic tourism became something that was a potential to offset the lack of flying and overseas tourism. And that has meant, I think, that destinations have become much more aware of trying to develop products and services that are going to be good, not just for foreigners coming in, but also for locals too. And also listening to what locals might actually want from tourism themselves, even if they're not part of the business. There's lots of reasons why it might be really nice for you as a citizen of a city or coastal town or wherever, to have visitors come to your hometown. It might be that it gives you a sense of pride, or that you feel like you have a place in the global scene, or it might be that it allows better public transport or a more vibrant cultural scene, or whatever it may be that you can sort of tap into. And I think that, as some residents felt that they were able to sort of reacquaint themselves with their hometown and take back some ownership of it, it gave the chance for a new conversation to happen about that. And so, because actually it's like, well, okay, so there aren't any visitors here now, and you might be enjoying that in the short term, but you can also see how businesses are really struggling. And actually, sooner or later, you're going to notice that all sorts of, other services might be failing as well. So it's just been a interesting time to be able to have that conversation with locals and residents to kind of say, so what do we actually want from the visitors that we bring in? And to open up again. And while I was out there, Croatia then turned into a red list country, but places like Croatia were absolutely beautiful, got everything that any sort of tourist or traveller could possibly wish for, and it's there really, on our doorstep essentially.